Are you a massive video editor? Where we're gonna fix that today in this tutorial where I'm gonna show you how I organize my Adobe Premiere Pro project. Let's get started. Another helpful tutorial, I hope so. Today we're gonna check how I organize and how I edit my projects inside Adobe Premiere Pro. The first thing we're gonna do today is to create a template inside Finder or your Windows folders, and also inside Premiere Pro that you can use for any other future projects in Premiere Pro. This is very helpful because it's going to save you a lot of time in the long run in the future. So you will not have to create a new project every time, but you can just grab your template, add your footage, and you're ready to start editing. First of all, let's talk about why being organized is very helpful in video editing and why having a template also is very handy. As a video editor, sometimes you need to work on huge projects, maybe films, online courses, stuff like that, where you've got a lot of footage from different cameras, a lot of sequences, a lot of graphic elements, music, and so on. So being tidy and organized is key to keep your workflow smooth and not to waste any time. This is my personal workflow, of course, so I'm gonna give you some tips and I'm gonna show you what I do, and then you can customize it in the future. So let's jump inside Finder. I'm using a Mac computer, but you can do the same on Windows. I'm going on my desktop and I'm going to create a template folder which I'm gonna use for the other projects in the future. So I right click, I create new folder, and now this is the first thing I do usually. I name my folders by date and I start with the year, then the month and the day. This is what I learned in 10 years working in Sony Pictures as a video editor for film trailers, because we usually had the films coming out by year, so we had to name the folders by year, and it was an easier way to find our projects. So what I do is 21, this is the year, and then I put the month, March, and today is the 13th of March. So this is how I start naming my folder, underscore, and usually I put the title of my project, so you can call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it Editing Template 2021. So this is my new template, and that's it. So I'm gonna press OK, and now we're going to start creating some subfolders which are related to Adobe Premiere projects. Now the first subfolder I'm going to create is called, well, I'm gonna create a new folder, and I usually call it AP, which stands for Adobe Premiere Project. And in here I'm gonna save my Adobe Premiere project, of course, which we're going to create together in a few seconds. As we are here now, I also create another folder called Footage. And in here I'm going to import all the material filmed with different cameras in different days, and I'm gonna show you that later on. So for now we just call it Footage. And another folder I'm going to create is Script. So usually before starting a video, I have a script which I'm gonna read through the filming as well, and I'm gonna place it in here. And then I already create another folder called Audio, and in here I'm going to add some audio elements, especially some voiceover tracks usually. So I'm going to create a subfolder inside the audio folder, and I call it VO, which stands for voiceover. And I'm gonna give you another few tips about the audio stuff as well. So let's jump into Premiere Pro, and we're going to create the actual project for this video, an hypothetical video. This is our template, don't forget. So Command Alt N to create a new project. And once again, I'm gonna follow the same structure as my main folder in Finder. So I'm gonna name it with the date 21/03/13 underscore template editing template 2021. I'm gonna browse where to save my project, which was on my desktop inside the main folder, AP project, and I'm gonna choose right there. So I'm gonna check my scratch disks, very important, same as project. Make sure everything here is listed as same as project. So whatever you're going to record or render out, it will be included in your main project of this specific video. Press OK. There you go. We have now an empty project panel, and we're going to create together some folders here. So let's create a new folder with Command B. That's a shortcut, easy. And we start with audio. So with the letter A, audio. And we're going to create some subfolders as well we're going to use in the future. So once again, click on the folder, press Command B, and we are going to add a subfolder called music, where we're going to add all our music tracks. Another subfolder, we call it SFX, sound effects. And then one more, we are going to add the voiceover, Command B, VO. Then usually I create another folder called captions, because sometimes I add some subtitles to my videos. And there it is, captions. And as we're here, let's create a caption track. So we go to File, New, and we go to Captions. And usually I use the open captions, 24 frames per second. That's okay, we can always change it, and press OK. And the caption will be in our folder. If it's not, make sure you just drag it in there. The next folder I'm going to create is for the edits, the actual sequences, and I just call it edits usually. So Command B, edits, press OK, and I'm going to create more subfolders to make it tidier too. So Command B, I call these main edits. I go to edits again, Command B, and I call it progressions. In the progressions folders, usually whenever I edit, I want to duplicate my sequence and put it inside the progressions, and I just keep it there. This is just to keep track of my progressions during the edit. So if I want to go back a few steps, I make sure I have one of those edits still there. So it's just a safety net for me to be able to go back instead of using the autosave of Adobe Premiere Pro. So it's already inside my project. And then also I create another subfolder and I call it nests. So nest sequences are literally like groups. They are like compositions of many clips together, and they're very useful for different things, which we're gonna cover in another tutorial. Then we go to the next folder and I'm going to create a graphics folder, and I call it GFX, stands for graphics. And in here I'm going to add all the graphic assets I'm going to use, maybe my broadcast package or some transitions, different things, all in here. And I'm gonna start importing the graphics I'm going to use even in the future. So don't forget, this is our template. So I'm going to import the graphics I'm gonna use for my next project, but also for the projects in the future. So I make sure they are already there in my template. And I'm going to import a few things just as an example and something I need, so you can import whatever you need. I've got a media resources folder where I've got everything, and I'm gonna talk to you about this stuff in a second. So there you go, this is just an example. So in here, usually I import transitions, my broadcast package, and so on. Next, I'm going to create a folder called grade, Command B, grade, and in here I'm going to add all the adjustment layers I'm going to use to color grade my video on the timeline. So I go inside grade and I start creating some elements which are going to be useful for me in the future. Like I go to new, I create a color matte, and which is gonna be, I use the black color, and this is gonna be my letterbox. So I'm gonna crop it as letterbox later on, and I call it letterbox. I'm going to add another one for my vignette usually. So new, a color matte in black once again, and I call it vignette. And I've already created some presets also for my effects. So it's very simple for me now. I just drag the vignette layer on the timeline and I add my effect, and I will have a perfect vignette on top of my video. And then I create a new adjustment layer this time. So I go to new adjustment layer, and this is gonna be my actual grade. So here I call it color grade, and I'm going to work with the Lumetri color panel on this adjustment layer. And then I'm going to create a folder called footage. So Command B, footage, there it is, and we're going to add some footage later on. What I'm gonna do is to order now the items by name. So I click here and everything is in order now by letter. And before starting to work on an actual project, let's create a sequence as well. So I go to the main edits here folder and Command N to create a new sequence. I'm going to create a full HD sequence at 24 frames per second, and I'm gonna call it exactly as my main folder in Finder, but also as the project here. So 21 by date, 21/03/13, then the title of my project. For now, just call it title. And then also I'm going to add the aspect ratio usually. So 16:9, that's my main video editing sequence for now. Press OK and your sequence will appear right there. Now a few tips right on the timeline. First of all, usually I name my tracks. So each track I'm gonna name it even for the future projects. And usually I do that for the audio tracks in particular. You can just expand the track here and right click on it and go to rename. And I usually call this voice. So this is my voice, my narrating voice, okay? Press OK, then you can go to the second track, right click on it and call it music. And then you can carry on down, right click on the third, rename it and call sound effects 01 and go on the fourth track and call it sound effects 02. So we have two different tracks for sound effects, which is usually what I use the most. And I'm gonna narrow down my tracks, and you can do the same with, of course, the video track. So you can call it B-roll, talking parts, whatever you wanna name it with. What I also usually do is to already add some audio effects, in particular some hard limiters and compressors on the audio tracks. It's gonna save me, once again, a lot of time in the long run, so I don't have to do this for every project. And usually I create a hard limiter on my voice. So make sure you go to Window and you go to Audio Track Mixer. So you want to have this window open. On my first track, which is my voice, I'm going to add in amplitude a compression and hard limiter. So this is gonna limit the volume of my voice. It's like a safety net. This is gonna be a bit complicated, so if you want to know more about audio mixing as well, I recommend to go and check my video editing course on Udemy or my website where I cover the whole video editing process. But what you want to do is to create your customized template, even with audio effects already here on the track mixer. The good thing of having also sound templates is to keep continuity through your videos, so all your videos will sound the same. Then what I do next, as my template, I lay some of my graphics already on the timeline as well, because now I have a sequence and I usually use transitions. So I'm sure I'm gonna have a transition and I'm gonna keep my existing settings. I usually have a closer, so usually that's my closer. I'm just gonna lay all the different elements. There it is. So I'm gonna add my sound effects related to my graphics. Everything I need usually in my project is already here. And now let's save the template. Now let's pretend we are working finally on an actual project. This is my template. What I do, I'm gonna close this template for now. Close project. And let's say I'm here on my desktop and I need to work on some camera gear review. What I do is to duplicate this folder so everything will be there. I'm just gonna change the date. Maybe today is the 14th of March instead. And I'm gonna call it G-Un Crane 2S, for which I'm gonna make a review, and actually I've done, go and check it out. What I'm gonna do inside the footage folder, I'm actually gonna copy the footage from my SD cards or CFast cards. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just gonna grab a couple of clips and drag it in there, and I'm gonna show you how I organize it. Let's say I filmed the material on 3 different cameras, as I actually did. So I've got some Blackmagic videos, some from Hero 8, the GoPro, and some from Sony. So usually I create these subfolders, BM, Blackmagic, and then I create one for Sony, and I create one for GoPro, GoPro Hero 8. Inside this folder, I also divide the material through the dates. Maybe I filmed the material on different days. So I want to be even extra careful and extra detailed adding the day I filmed this material. And I'm just gonna drag all my clips in there. Now, for the purpose of the video, once again, I'm gonna drag only one because it's gonna take forever. I'm going in the hero folder right there, and I'm going to call it 210227, and I'm going to drag all the clips related to the GoPro Hero. And then on the Sony, actually I filmed on the Sony for 3 days, for 3 different days. So I'm going to the Sony and I'm just dragging everything in here. This is gonna take a bit of time, so I'm gonna cancel, but that's how I organize my footage folders. Now we're going to open up the new project we have created, actually that we have duplicated, and there it is, nice, clean and tidy as we want it. So everything is already here. What we need to do now is to import the actual material for this specific project. So I'm gonna go in my folders in Finder, we go to footage and we literally just select the 3 subfolders with the 3 different cameras and drag the folders inside the footage folder in Premiere Pro. It's gonna take a second to import, and you will find, here you go, all the material you need inside the footage folder. Anything else would be the same for all your projects. So what you wanna do now is to go in the main edits, for example, the actual sequence, change your date, 14th, change your title. This is gonna be the Gewin Crane 2S, and the aspect ratio will be 16:9 for my first sequence. There it is. Now let's say we have edited the first main sequence. What I usually do, I create other sequences in different aspect ratios for TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. So I just take my main sequence, duplicate it, and change the aspect ratio here on the title. So 9:16, it's the vertical aspect ratio. You double click on it, you go to sequence settings, and you're gonna change the actual frame size. Press OK, and that's it. That's my new sequence. What I do next, after having edited all my sequences, I export my sequences. So I select them here in the project panel. I press Command M to open up the export panel. I'm gonna choose, of course, my export settings. If you want to know the export settings, go and check this video here. And I'm gonna add them to the queue. So I'm gonna add them to Media Encoder, which is going to export all the sequences for me. And talking about organizing your project, we're going to add a new folder in Finder or Windows. And we can do that from Media Encoder or from Finder. And as I'm waiting for Media Encoder to open up, I go to Finder in the Gewin Crane 2S folder, so my project, and I'm going to create a new folder and call it Exports. Now, when I go to Media Encoder, I'm going to select that folder as the export folder. So here we go. I'm going to export it there, and also the second file, it's going to be here in the exports folder. Great. I go back to Finder because I'm going to add another folder as well, which is probably my last one. New folder, and this is going to be my YouTube thumbnail. And in here, I'm going to save, well, the preview thumbnail for my video, which I'll be uploading on the YouTube channel. And as you can see, everything is nice and tidy. You can find your material easily. It's all inside the footage. Another tip I can give you guys, you could also add a graphics folder in here and copy all the graphics you need for this specific video. Also, you can do the same with the audio. So if you have specific soundtracks or sound effects you want to use for this project, you can copy it inside the audio folder. Now, there are some pros and cons on doing that, because if you copy and paste the same graphic for different projects each time, you're going to occupy a lot of storage, a lot of space in your hard drives. So I don't recommend to do so. What I usually do, well, I actually have a separate folder, which I'm gonna show you right here. It's on a different hard drive from my projects, and I called it Media Resources. In here, I have all my music tracks where I download all the music tracks from different libraries There you go. These are all the libraries I used in the past and I'm using right now. Also, all the graphics, the graphic elements, so my broadcast package, my social media graphics, my video intro. So everything in terms of graphics are here. And what I do, I just import inside Premiere the specific graphic I need. In this way, I will not waste extra space on my storage and I'm not going to duplicate the same item over and over, which is not needed. The only time I recommend to copy maybe a graphic element or music or whatever inside your project folder in Finder is when you're actually copying this project maybe on an external hard drive that you need to carry with you somewhere. So if you can carry 2 or 3 different hard drives, then I recommend to copy those elements related to this project inside the project folder too. And that's all guys for today. I hope the video was helpful. I hope it wasn't boring, but it's a very interesting and important part of video editing. Keeping your project organized, be tidy, learn to do so as soon as you can at the very beginning of your career because you're not gonna regret it. Well, I hope you're going to hit the subscribe button and the like button, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.
Seems all good